morning. You're listening to The Brief Wake Up, your mindful start to the day. I am Handel, your daily coffee companion, helping you wake up informed, thoughtful, and maybe just a little amused before the day gets old. If you're commuting, corralling kids, or just standing in line for caffeine, you're in the right place. Let's get you caught up. For health this morning, let's discuss ADHD, superpower or a trade-off. You've probably heard ADHD characterized varyingly, but recently it's being labeled a superpower. And while that phrase resonates with many people, it does need clarification. Because ADHD isn't magic, and it isn't a flaw either. Clinically, ADHD is best understood as a difference in how the brain regulates attention, motivation, and dopamine. It's not a lack of focus as widely thought of. Instead, it's variable focus. That variability creates a trade-off. In structured, repetitive environments, ADHD can feel like a liability. Difficulty initiating tasks, time blindness, inconsistent follow-through, and mental fatigue from things that feel boring but necessary. But place that same brain in a high novelty, high urgency environment, and something different happens. Many people with ADHD can enter periods of hyperfocus. Deep, sustained attention when a task is meaningful, time-sensitive, or emotionally engaging. During these windows, productivity and learning can exceed peers. That's why ADHD is disproportionately represented in fields like medicine, emergency response, entrepreneurship, creative work, and crisis leadership. There's also rapid pattern recognition. ADHD brains tend to scan broadly, make associative leaps, and connect ideas across domains. This supports innovation and strategic insight, though it's less helpful for linear bureaucracy, where step-by-step processing and a fixed order or progression is vital. Another feature is urgency bias. ADHD nervous systems perform exceptionally well under pressure. Calm in chaos, decisive when others freeze. The downside? If there's no urgency, the brain struggles to engage, which leads to procrastination, guilt, and burnout. So here's the accurate reframe. ADHD isn't a superpower by default. It's a high-variance cognitive profile. In the wrong environment, it causes impairment. In the right environment, it can create outsized impact. Think of it like a high-performance engine. Incredible acceleration, but it needs structure, tuning, and recovery time. The goal isn't to fix ADHD, it's to design life around it. Externalize structure, engineer deadlines, protect rest, and stop measuring yourself by neurotypical standards. When that happens, what looks like a weakness can become a real advantage, not because it's magical, but because it's finally being used correctly. The news is next. Our news this morning highlights significant development in the Ukraine war peace talks. Donald Trump met with Volodymyr Zelensky on Sunday at Mar-a-Lago, as negotiations aimed at ending Russia's war in Ukraine continue to take shape. Greeting Zelensky at the entrance to the club, Trump projected confidence, telling reporters the two sides have the makings of a deal. After a private meeting, both leaders echoed that optimism during a joint press conference, saying meaningful progress had been made, though key issues remain unresolved. Zelensky said negotiators have now agreed on about 90% of his 20-point peace framework. That proposal includes US and European security guarantees for Ukraine, a defined future path toward European Union membership, and maintaining Ukraine's armed forces at current strength, roughly 800,000 troops. The plan also outlines halting fighting along current battle lines in eastern Ukraine, with mutual withdrawals to form demilitarized zones in Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. In addition, It calls for a massive post-war reconstruction effort, an estimated $800 billion to rebuild Ukraine's economy and infrastructure. Trump said the sides have made a lot of progress, adding that a final agreement is very close, while cautioning that peace will not be achieved overnight. The most difficult unresolved issue, according to Trump, is territory. He acknowledged that land remains the thorniest issue, noting that some areas already taken by Russia and others potentially at risk make timing critical for any deal. Zelensky reaffirmed Ukraine's position, saying Kyiv will continue to respect and defend the territory it currently controls, even as negotiations continue. Looking ahead, both leaders confirmed that talks will resume in the coming weeks, potentially in Washington, with European leaders involved. Trump also did not rule out traveling to Ukraine if it would help finalize a peace agreement. Bottom line, this was not a symbolic meeting. It signals real movement toward a negotiated end to the war. But land, enforcement, and guarantees will determine whether momentum turns into peace. That's your news for this morning. The Big Sip is next. For our Big Sip this morning, let's discuss the phenomenon of how humans keep living while the world is falling apart. This morning, I want to talk about something quietly extraordinary: the human ability to keep living in the middle of devastation. If you look at places like Ukraine right now, you'll see something that feels almost impossible to reconcile. Bombs fall, infrastructure is hit, sirens sound, and then people go to work. They open cafes, they send their kids to school, they fall in love, they argue about dinner. From the outside, it can feel surreal, even disturbing. How can life continue when destruction is happening right there? But psychologically, this isn't denial, it's adaptation. The human brain is not built to live in a constant state of existential emergency. If it were, we would collapse under the weight of it. So instead, the brain does something remarkable. It narrows the frame. It focuses on what is immediately controllable. Today's commute, today's work, tonight's meal. A small routine becomes an anchor. This isn't numbness, it's survival. In fact, research from war zones consistently shows that routine is one of the strongest protective factors against psychological breakdown. Structure tells the nervous system, there is still order here, even if the larger world feels broken. And there's another layer to this. Continuing daily life is also an act of resistance. It says, you can damage buildings, but you do not get to erase meaning. Living becomes defiance. There's a lesson here that applies far beyond war zones. When our own lives are disrupted by illness, loss, divorce, economic stress, there's often guilt around moving on, around laughing too soon, around going back to work, around functioning while something is still unresolved. But functioning is not betrayal, it's resilience. Humans don't survive by staring endlessly at devastation. We survive by building small islands of normalcy inside it. So if you ever find yourself asking, how can I possibly keep going when things are this bad? The answer is, the same way humans always have. One ordinary day at a time. The lighter roast is next. This morning's lighter roast is about to get controversial, delving into something almost no one talks about, but everyone quietly notices: the marriage BMI effect. Because statistically speaking, when people get married, they gain weight. Not a lot, not overnight, but enough that the genes start negotiating. And it's not because love makes us lazy, it's because love makes us comfortable. When you're single, your body is on the market. There's motivation, there's effort, there's the silent voice that says, Maybe I won't order the fries. When you're married, that voice gets replaced with another one. We already ordered the fries, might as well eat it. Studies show married men gain more weight than married women. And honestly, that tracks. Men leave the dating market and immediately retire from the runway. Haircuts become optional, tracksuits become daily wear, and portion sizes, those double out of solidarity. Women gain weight too, but generally less and more gradually. The reasons are structural: increased age, shared routines, eating patterns, and time constraints. But here's the important part. This isn't a failure. It's a trade. Marriage trades appearance, vigilance for life stability. You stop optimizing for being chosen and start optimizing for being present. And interestingly, married people live longer, even with the extra pounds. So yes, the scale creeps up. But so does emotional safety, regular meals, someone who notices when you're sick, someone who says, you should probably get that checked. The BMI goes up a little. The life expectancy goes up a lot. So if you're married and carrying a few extra pounds, that's not letting yourself go. That's letting yourself belong. And if you're single and lean, enjoy it. That's your season. Just remember, eventually the fries come for everyone. Our commemoration is next. Today is doing a lot of things at once. In the Eastern tradition, it's the feast of King David, a deeply imperfect leader remembered not for getting everything right, but for admitting when he didn't, which already feels refreshingly modern. It's also TikTok Day. TikTok, the clock, not TikTok the app. The strange stretch where the year is still running, but momentum has already shut down. For many people, it's the last normal working day of the year. Emails are sent, decisions are postponed, and every problem is officially reclassified as January's issue. And all of those lands in the middle of the nothing week when calendars insist work is happening, but reality quietly disagrees. So if today feels unproductive, unfocused, or vaguely existential, good news. You're right on schedule. Today we talked about trade-offs, how ADHD isn't a flaw or a superpower, but a high-variance system that excels in the right conditions. How peace talks move forward not through symbolism, but through hard negotiations over land and guarantees. And how humans keep functioning even as the world fractures around them. Whether it's the brain adapting to attention, nations adapting to war, or people adapting to loss. Survival almost always looks ordinary on the surface. So, if today feels unfinished, unproductive, or suspended between endings and beginnings, don't fight it. That's not failure. It's how transition works. This is Handel for the brief wake-up. Remember to be kind, calm, and stay curious. Catch you tomorrow.